We're running out of food. These are 4 words that define the limits of America's most powerful weapons. Nuclear submarines can theoretically stay submerged for decades powered by their reactors, but the reality is completely different. Food storage has become the Achilles heel of the nuclear age's most sophisticated war machines. Picture commanding a $3 billion submarine that can launch nuclear missiles from anywhere in the world's oceans. Your reactor runs for 25 years without refueling. You can make fresh water from seawater and breathe recycled air indefinitely. But after just 90 days, you face a problem no amount of technology can solve. Your crew needs to eat, and the pantry is getting bare. This fundamental limitation has shaped every aspect of submarine warfare and created some of the most dramatic moments in naval history. From crews literally walking on their dinner to medics handing out caffeine pills as sailors share their last chocolate bars, the story of submarine food logistics reveals the human reality behind these mechanical marvels. When the USS Nautilus became the world's first nuclear submarine in 1954, it promised to revolutionize underwater warfare. Submarines no longer needed to surface regularly for fuel or air. The reactor provided virtually unlimited power, and new life support systems could sustain crews indefinitely. But naval planners quickly discovered that solving the power problem had simply revealed another bottleneck: food storage. Tony Grayson, former commander of the USS Providence, puts it bluntly. The fundamental problem facing any submarine commander is simple. Groceries are the limiting factor for how long we stay at sea. The reactor can run for years, but the food supply eventually forces us home. This was not always the case. Before nuclear power, submarines ran on diesel engines and had to return to port regularly for fuel. Food was just one of many limiting factors, but nuclear power changed everything. Suddenly, submarines could stay submerged for months, limited only by what they could carry to sustain their crews. A modern Virginia-class submarine carries approximately 135 crew members in a vessel that is 360 feet long and just 33 feet wide. That is roughly the size of a football field, but much narrower than most people's driveways. In this cramped space, every cubic inch matters, and food storage becomes a complex 3-dimensional puzzle. The numbers tell the story of this challenge. A typical Virginia-class submarine loads 1,500 pounds of ribeye rolled beef, 1,000 pounds of ground beef, 900 pounds of chicken breast, 300 pounds of bacon, 5,500 pounds of flour, 2,500 pounds of sugar, and more than 1,000 pounds of coffee. This massive amount of food must fit into a space smaller than most grocery stores, while leaving room for weapons, equipment, and 135 people to live and work. The solution is both ingenious and claustrophobic. Submarines use what crews call eating your way out. Since there is no real pantry space, food cans line the floors of passageways and mess decks. Plywood gets laid over these giant institutional-sized cans, creating a temporary floor that the crew walks on. As weeks pass and meals get prepared, the cans disappear and the floor literally lowers. You're walking on your dinner for the first few weeks of any patrol. This system works well initially, but it creates a countdown clock that every crew member can feel under their feet. As the floor drops week by week, everyone knows their time underwater is literally being consumed. The galley where all this food gets transformed into meals is a marvel of efficiency and constraint. Picture a kitchen that is 10 feet by 14 feet, equipped with 2 convection ovens, a sink, and basic equipment. From this tiny space, a team of 6 culinary specialists must prepare 4 high-volume meals every day for 135 people. That is roughly 540 meals daily from a kitchen smaller than most home garages. About 30 people eat at one time, creating a continuous cycle of meal preparation and service that runs 18 hours a day. The Navy has recognized that in the high-stress environment of extended underwater deployments, food becomes more than nutrition. It is a primary tool for maintaining morale. As one veteran puts it, a fed sailor is a happy sailor. On a nuclear submarine where you are underwater for months and have not seen the sun in weeks, food stops being just fuel. It becomes your entertainment, your comfort, and your clock. This recognition has led to submarine crews receiving higher per-person food budgets than surface ships. While deployed sailors pay a discounted daily rate of $13.30 for meals in 2025, submarines often exceed this budget to provide higher quality food. The smaller crew size allows culinary specialists to cook in smaller batches and provide more personalized, high-quality meals. But even the best planning cannot overcome the fundamental math of storage space versus time at sea. Fresh food lasts only 2 to 3 weeks before crews must switch to canned, dried, and frozen products for the remainder of their patrol. This transition marks a psychological shift for many crew members, the moment when they truly feel cut off from the surface world. The loss of fresh food also creates the first hint of what happens when supplies run low. Meals become less varied, ingredients must be stretched further, and food preparation requires increasing creativity from the culinary team. But this is nothing compared to what happens when a submarine truly approaches the limits of its food supply. In 2024, a British nuclear submarine experienced every commander's nightmare, a food crisis during an extended patrol. A Vanguard-class submarine, one of the UK's 4 nuclear ballistic missile submarines responsible for the country's nuclear deterrent, found itself running dangerously low on supplies after a planned resupply was cancelled for unknown reasons. The situation deteriorated rapidly. Crew members were forced to share individual rations, with meals divided among multiple people. The ship's informal economy collapsed as the honesty shop in the canteen was closed over fears of hoarding. Most tellingly, naval leadership asked crew members to surrender their personal sweets and chocolate, known in naval slang as nutty, so they could be redistributed among the crew. A former submarine captain described the conditions as horrific. The psychological pressure was immense. These were highly trained professionals operating some of the world's most sophisticated weapons systems while dealing with genuine hunger and the stress of uncertain food supplies. The situation became so dire that medical personnel began distributing caffeine tablets to combat fatigue caused by reduced caloric intake. Off-duty sailors were encouraged to sleep as much as possible to conserve energy. Leadership feared that exhaustion and hunger-induced mistakes could lead to catastrophic accidents aboard a nuclear-armed vessel. This incident was not an isolated case of poor planning. It reflected a larger trend in submarine operations. The Royal Navy had been extending patrol durations far beyond traditional limits. The last 8 British nuclear deterrent patrols had exceeded 5 months, with some approaching 7 months. What was once considered an exceptionally long 3-month patrol was becoming normal, and submarines were pushing the absolute limits of their food storage capacity. The submarine involved in the 2024 incident had been at sea for over 200 days, breaking previous records for patrol duration. HMS Vanguard returned to base after 204 days at sea, surpassing the previous record of 201 days set by HMS Vengeance earlier that year. These extended patrols reflected both operational demands and a desire for efficiency. Longer patrols meant fewer handovers and more time available for maintenance between deployments. But the human cost was becoming apparent. Spending almost half a year underwater, much of it on reduced rations, tested crews beyond traditional limits. The psychological toll of extended isolation combined with food rationing created conditions that raised serious questions about the sustainability of such operations. The Royal Navy initially disputed reports of food shortages, with a spokesperson saying the claims were untrue and insisting that every submariner receives a nutritionally balanced diet at all times. However, detailed accounts from multiple sources suggested that while crews may not have been starving in absolute terms, they were certainly operating under significant food constraints that affected both morale and operational effectiveness. This controversy highlighted a fundamental tension in modern submarine operations. The theoretical capabilities of nuclear submarines, their ability to stay submerged almost indefinitely, were pushing against the practical limitations of sustaining human crews for such extended periods. The problem isn't unique to the Royal Navy. American submarines have also pushed records, though typically with better resupply capabilities. The USS Pennsylvania set a record for Ohio-class ballistic missile submarines with a 140-day patrol in 2014. Commander Tiger Pittman, who led that mission, described the challenge. "It's an honor. It was a challenge. The job kept calling for us to stay at sea, but we were ready, willing, and able. So we stayed at sea and finished the mission." The longest submerged patrol on record belongs to HMS Warspite, which spent 111 days underwater covering 30,804 nautical miles in the South Atlantic during the 1982 Falklands War. This patrol occurred during wartime conditions when resupply was impossible, and extending the mission was essential for national security. Modern naval forces have begun experimenting with solutions to extend submarine endurance beyond traditional food storage limits. The most promising development is aerial resupply, using aircraft to deliver supplies to submarines at sea without requiring them to enter port or surface for extended periods. In 2024, the USS Henry M. Jackson conducted extensive tests of aerial resupply systems near Hawaii. Over 5 days, the submarine experimented with resupply from an unmanned aerial vehicle, an MV-22B Osprey from the Marine Corps, a C-17 Globemaster III from the Air Force, and an MH-60R Seahawk from the Navy. The tests demonstrated that submarines could receive everything from small spare parts to food supplies while remaining largely submerged and maintaining their stealth. Commander Travis Wood of the USS Maine, which has also participated in aerial resupply exercises, explained the strategic importance. "Rotary wing vertical replenishment such as this allows us to quickly resupply so that we can constantly maintain pressure against any adversary who would wish to do harm to the homeland." These resupply techniques aren't entirely new. Marine Corps CH-53E helicopters successfully resupplied the USS Maine in the Philippine Sea in 2023, and various aircraft have delivered supplies to submarines for decades. But the recent tests represent a systematic effort to make aerial resupply routine rather than exceptional. The technology addresses the fundamental paradox of nuclear submarine operations. While the submarines themselves can operate for months or years, their crews remain bound by basic human needs that no reactor can fulfill. Aerial resupply offers the possibility of extending patrols indefinitely while maintaining crew welfare and operational effectiveness. However, aerial resupply comes with significant challenges. It requires submarines to surface or operate at shallow depths, potentially compromising their stealth. It also depends on favorable weather conditions and the availability of aircraft, which may not always be possible in contested areas or during wartime. Some proposed solutions focus on more efficient food storage rather than resupply. In 2011, celebrity chef Heston Blumenthal demonstrated sous vide food preparation techniques aboard HMS Turbulent. He showed that the same ingredients required for a single crew meal could be compressed using sous vide methods from room-sized storage requirements to a single large box. The demonstration convinced Commander Ryan Ramsey that sous vide technology could double stored provisions on a submarine, potentially extending a typical 90-day food supply to 180 days or more with rationing. The concept could revolutionize submarine logistics, effectively doubling patrol duration without requiring larger submarines or more frequent resupply. However, when the proposal was forwarded up the chain of command, it received little enthusiasm and was eventually shelved. Conservative military procurement processes often resist innovative solutions even when they offer dramatic improvements to operational capability. The future of submarine food logistics will likely combine multiple approaches. New submarine designs are incorporating more efficient food storage systems. The Columbia-class submarines that will replace America's Ohio-class boats from 2031 are designed with improved logistics in mind, though specific details remain classified. Similarly, the United Kingdom's Dreadnought-class submarines will replace the current Vanguard-class boats with designs that reflect lessons learned from decades of extended patrol operations. These new submarines will likely incorporate both better food storage and improved resupply capabilities. The psychological aspects of submarine food management continue to evolve as well. Modern submarines have developed elaborate informal economies around food and treats. Jadunk, meaning chips, candy, and sodas from the ship's store, functions as a shadow currency. A box of Girl Scout cookies can trade at 1,000 times its original cost for favorable watch assignments. The ship's ice cream machine has become so critical to morale that crews often refer to it as more important than the reactor. Food-related traditions and slang have become integral to submarine culture, with meals nicknamed hamsters for chicken cordon bleu, chicken wheels for fried chicken patties, pillows of death for ravioli, and train wrecks for scrambled eggs mixed with whatever leftovers are available. These cultural elements reflect the central role that food plays in maintaining crew cohesion during extended underwater deployments. When you are isolated from the outside world for months at a time, sharing meals becomes one of the few communal experiences that connect crew members to normal life. The 2024 British food rationing incident serves as a warning about pushing submarines beyond their designed limits. While the crews survived and completed their missions, the physical and psychological toll raised questions about the sustainability of such operations. Future submarine designs must balance the desire for extended endurance with the fundamental human needs of their crews. The story of submarine food logistics ultimately reveals a broader truth about military technology. No matter how advanced our machines become, they remain dependent on the humans who operate them. The most sophisticated nuclear submarine in the world is still limited by the basic fact that its crew needs to eat. In an age of artificial intelligence and autonomous weapons, the submarine galley serves as a reminder that human needs continue to shape the tools of war. As submarine patrols grow longer and operational demands increase, the question, what happens when a nuclear submarine runs out of food, will only become more pressing. The answer affects not just the comfort of individual crews, but the strategic capabilities of entire naval forces and the nations they defend.